One day, King Thidrek spoke with Master Hildebrand, and the two of them went to talk alone and to decide what should be done. King Thidrek spoke now. "Whom can we find in our army who is such a bold knight and who has such daring that he could ride through the army of the Rus and manage to get through to the Markgraf, my best friend, and tell him what kind of difficulty we're in?" And Hildebrand answered, "I do not think there is anyone comparable to your good friend Wildifair. If anyone has the daring we need in your army, then I expect he would have it." And Thidrek called him in and spoke to him. "Ride out, Wildifair, if you are daring enough, through the army of King Valdimar, so that you can go to Markgraf Rodingeir. I expect that he will help us if you reach him, and if he knows what difficulty we are in." Wildifair answered, "I have such great wounds that I am ill prepared to undertake such a fight. Besides, as long as I can carry my shield and my sword, I shall never be parted from you." And for this reason, he said that he did not trust himself to ride. And Wildifair continued, "Call on your kinsman Ulfrad and bid him ride this mission. No man is equally fit for this because of his strength and daring." They went to where they found Ulfrad, and King Thidrek spoke to him. "My kinsman Ulfrad, will you ride with my message through the army of the Rus to Markgraf Rodingeir to tell him where we are and what difficulty we are in?" And Ulfrad answered, "Sir, Wildifair will ride this mission. He is the greatest warrior in our army, and I am a young man and little tested in valor to venture on such a great trial." And King Thidrek answered, "Wildifair has many great wounds and cannot ride into battle against so many." And Ulfrad answered, "Wildifair, our friend, does not dare ride, and he has chosen me. If you give me your good horse Falka, your good helmet Hildegrim, and your good sword Ekisax, then I will ride on this mission, if you wish." And Thidrek spoke, "I will do that if you make this trip." And Ulfrad and King Thidrek then exchanged weapons. Ulfrad had now all of King Thidrek's weapons, and also his good horse, and he rode out of the castle when it was dark at night. He rode to a place where Valdimar's men had a fire, and he took a glowing firebrand and rode so that he came into the middle of King Valdimar's camp. He rode through the camp so fearlessly that everyone thought he was one of the guardsmen. And he came to the place where a large tent stood among the other tents. And King Valdimar himself slept there, along with many other chieftains. And he threw the brand he had been carrying to light his way into the tent. The tent burst into flames, because silk is flammable, and the men who were in the tent sprang up and tried to get away. Ulfrad killed 10 knights with both hands, but because it was dark, he did not know whether King Valdimar had lost his life, and he then rode away. King Thidrek and Hildebrand and Wildifair stood now on one wing of the castle, and they saw that the tent was burning, and that Ulfrad had managed to set the tent on fire, whatever else he had achieved, and they were very happy. Ulfrad rode all night, and all the next day, until the evening, as fast as he could, until he came to Hunaland and found King Attila, along with his army and the Markgraf. He recognized the armor of King Thidrek and thought it was the king himself, and he rode away from the army to meet him. But when they met, Ulfrad spoke. "Welcome, Markgraf. King Thidrek sends his greetings to you." The Markgraf now saw that it was not Thidrek, and that this was one of King Thidrek's men. He spoke. "God be praised that I know him to be safe, and we shall come quickly to give him aid." And Ulfrad answered and told him all about his mission and what Thidrek had bade him do. The Markgraf rode now to where King Attila was and told him the news. When King Attila had heard this, he stood up and had his horns blown, and they took all their weapons and turned back to give aid to King Thidrek. They rode now along with the army until they came near the castle where King Thidrek was. And when King Valdimar's guard became aware that an overwhelming army had come into Rusiland, they went quickly and told the king. King Valdimar had his horns sounded and ordered all of his men to arm themselves, take their horses, and ride away. Now, when King Thidrek became aware that King Valdimar was riding away, they went out of the castle and rode after them and killed 200 men. And when King Thidrek rode back to the castle, he met King Attila and a large army. When he met them, each greeted the other warmly, and King Attila was glad that King Thidrek was alive and well. And after that, they went up to the castle ruin. Markgraf Rodingeir spoke now. "It was such a great grief to me that we could not come to offer you support when you were in such dire straits." Hildebrand spoke. "I am now 100 winters old, and I have never come in such straits as I have been here with 500 men. And we had such a famine that we ate 500 horses, and only 7 are left of those we brought here." King Thidrek then went to where he had kept Thidrek Valdimarsson, and he showed him to King Attila and spoke. "He is Thidrek, the son of King Valdimar. I took him in battle, and I will now give him to you because of your friendship. And you may do with him what you will, either kill him or have his father ransom him with gold and silver and great castles and large kingdoms." King Attila spoke. You have given me a gift that seems better to me than a ship-pound of red gold. Have our great thanks and our friendship for it. King Attila and King Thidrek returned now to Hunaland, and there is nothing to tell of their trip until they reached home. Thidrek had many great wounds and lay wounded for some time. Thidrek Valdimarsson was cast into a dungeon, and he was also seriously wounded. When King Attila had been home a half year, it happened one time that he set out raiding. He had his horns blown to call all his men to him, who wished to support him and dared fight. Now he was prepared with all his men, and he had no less than 9,600 knights and countless other men. But Thidrek was so badly wounded that he could not ride along with King Attila and give him support. Queen Erka now went to see King Attila and spoke. I wish to ask you one boon, sir, that you take my kinsman Thidrek Valdimarsson out of the dungeon and allow that I send my physicians to him and heal him, and let things go so that you and King Valdimar reach a settlement. That will turn out better if Thidrek is not killed. And King Attila answered, I cannot grant you what you are asking for, because I shall never regain control over him if he becomes well. And Queen Erka spoke. If he becomes well, then I shall lay my head in ransom. And if he should ride away, then you may have leave to strike off my head when you return. King Attila became very angry and spoke. Do you wish to take my greatest enemy, Thidrek Valdimarsson, out of the dungeon and nurse him back to health? Now if I were to lose him, and he would ride away from you to Rusiland, that would be a greater loss than Susa, my city, because his kinsmen will ransom him with many great castles and great lands, rather than not get him. Now you are offering, lady, your head in surety. Do not doubt that I will strike off your head if you allow Thidrek Valdimarsson to escape. If he gets well, however, you will not be able to prevent his riding home. It was now done as the queen wished, and Queen Erka had her kinsman Thidrek taken from the dungeon and put in a tower, and had everything prepared comfortably for him. And she sat over him herself and nursed him. King Attila now went on a long journey through inhabited and uninhabited stretches of land until he came through Poland and Rusiland. There he harried, burned, and laid waste to King Valdimar's lands. And thus the end of part 54 has come. But next time, we continue with news about Thidrek's wounds, Queen Erka, and the swift horse Falka, which's riding skills and speed will be thoroughly needed. So thanks for tuning in. and see you again next time, back here in the Hall of Sagenheim.